A Rockport family is searching for answers after their 8-year-old son suddenly passed away on Sunday. They say Martin Campbell came down with flu-like symptoms, and hours later, he died. And now officials are waiting for test results to find exactly out what caused this death. Our Madeline Dart tells us about this young man and the impact he left on his community.
You would think he was a grown-up. He knew more stuff than I did.
He had a lot to say, and he wanted to say it, and he wanted you to sit there and listen to him.
His family called him Chucky, a bright-eyed, talkative, and spunky 8-year-old.
He can tell you a story like nobody's business.
So when he wasn't talking, that's when family knew something was wrong.
He had a high-pitched, squeaky voice, and it's not here. And that's what I miss.
Jasmine Solis says Martin was sick with the typical flu symptoms on Sunday evening. Their suspicions were confirmed when they took him to the ER.
It was just like a normal fever.
Solis says they were discharged and given medicine for the flu, but hours later, their world came crashing down.
He was pretty much turning purple.
Jasmine says her boyfriend tried to revive her son while she called 911.
Before help came, it was just already too late.
Martin was taken to a hospital in Portland after he went into cardiac arrest.
When I got there, they finally told me that he was gone. I can't comprehend why. He's so little.
Jasmine says they've received an outpouring of support from their community. Martin's classmates creating cards of support for their friend.
If you were just to see the amount of people that have come together for him.
Health officials say an autopsy has been completed and they're waiting test results to find out if the flu indeed caused Martin's death. In the meantime, his family says they're coming together and planning funeral arrangements, all while gaining support from their community.
He's impacted a lot of people's lives, more than I've ever thought.
Madeline Dart, 3 News.
So sad.